Statistics, Modeling, and Finance. Chapter 3, Measures of Dispersion. Page 6, Questionnaires. Another technique frequently utilized is the questionnaire. We can send out questionnaires to randomly selected addresses. Perhaps the mailing list could be generated by a random selection of addresses from tax records. Of course, then you only get owners, not tenants. We could send to people randomly selected from the voting registration lists. Oops, be careful. You send to typical segments in the correct proportion. Don't just send to Democrats or independents. Don't send to half Republicans and half Democrats in an area where only 75% of the voters are registered with one party or the other. Questionnaires can be effective means of polling, but they have problems. First is cost. They have to be sent through the mail, or you need accurate email addresses. Second, the average return on questionnaires is under 10%. You will never hear back from 90% of them. The same argument may be made that the ones who are concerned enough to take the time to fill out the form and return it are the most strongly motivated and opinionated and may not be typical. A random sample of expected voters ought to include the correct percentage of people who identify as a specific sex, age, socioeconomic background, urban dwellers and farmers, married people and singles as encountered in the population as a whole. End of page. Page 7, stratified random sample. A stratified random sample is defined as a statistical sample in which the population is divided into one or more essential subgroups or strata, with random samples drawn from each subgroup. As I said, you have to work to ensure a random sample. Remember the Nielsen ratings? This is what they do. Here is what the Nielsen company says on their website. Nielsen TV families are a cross-section of households from all over the United States. We carefully draw our samples in a way that offers every American household with a television an equal chance of being selected. Sample design, selection, and maintenance for both the national and local market samples are the responsibility of highly skilled statisticians. Nielsen's guardians of sample quality. They stay abreast of new sampling methods developed by survey organizations, the U.S. Census Bureau, and other government agencies. Our samples include homes from all 50 states, from cities to towns, from suburbs to rural areas. We have homeowners and apartment dwellers, some with children and some without, across a broad range of demographic categories. We include people of all ages, income groups, geographic areas, ethnicities, and education levels, all in proportion to their presence in the population at large. End of page. Page 8, non-probability sample. Here's another definition. A non-probability sample is defined as a sample produced by an unscientific, non-random selection process. For example, a non-probability sample may be a sample based upon an appraiser's judgment about which cases to select, or based on a convenience sample. That is the type of strategy that many appraisers have to adopt on a daily basis, as they have limited databases. End of page. Page 9, range. Range is defined as, in statistics, the difference between the highest and lowest values in a set of numbers. The statistical range is a broad gauge, but does provide information to the appraiser. It is a comparative measure that speaks to the amount of the spread. Is a distribution tightly packed, or does it meander all over the scale? A range is absolute and does not lend itself to further statistical interpretation. You may find a distribution of house sales in one market area where the sales in the last year all were between 290,000 and 320,000. That is a pretty narrow distribution. You could conclude that there is a high degree of conformity. Most likely the houses conform generally in terms of age, size, and site size. It probably will be an easy area in which to appraise. A similar study of sales in the preceding year in another market area might yield sales recorded from $116,000 to $459,000. This is a huge distribution. It reminds me of many areas in which I have appraised and likely would result in a very large range. Remember, the definition says the range is the difference. Often the term range is used differently than how it is defined in statistics. In that first market area, we can say that the sales range from 290,000 to 320,000, but the range is $30,000. In USPAP, the comment to the definition of appraisal says, comment, an appraisal is numerically expressed as a specific amount, as a range that's highlighted of numbers, or as a relationship. For instance, not more than, not less than, to a previous value opinion or numerical benchmark. For instance, assessed value, collateral value, emphasize added. The word range is used differently in USPAP than how it is used in statistics. If you were to express your final opinion of value as a range, what the fuck just happened? You would say the value was $290,000 to $320,000. You would not say your final range of value was $30,000. But for this class, the use of the term range means the difference between the highest and lowest values in the distribution. End of page.